everyone, my name is RJ,
My name is Tensaye.
and we are the
The
Group
Group
Project
Project
Gamers,
Gamers.
episode 5. It's over a month now that we've been doing this, and honestly, I gotta say, it is like one of those motivating factors when I get up in the morning. Like, it's another day closer to recording day, it's another day closer till the episode comes out. I can't wait to see how many people enjoy the content. Like, it's one of those things that gets me up in the morning now. I don't know about you, but it's been that for me.
Yeah, for me as well. Obviously last night, Fortnite having Season 7 come out, I was up all night, so I'm gonna be a little tired for this podcast, but I'm gonna try and push through. Honestly, yeah, like, just being able to talk about games outside of playing them definitely, makes me more motivated to just, get out there and just kind of explore different games. So, yeah, I've definitely been doing that a lot.
Oh yeah, I gotta see a little bit of your stream right now, and I gotta say that was crazy.
Yeah.
12, oh, 12 hours, over 12 hours, almost
Yeah.
13 hours.
Yeah.
That's that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Fortnite Season 7 coming out, we've been just having so much fun, playing the game that we just couldn't stop playing, you know. We got on here and we started off pretty rough, but that was mainly just because we haven't played the game in, over a month or so, each of us. And then, so when we came back, we had to kind of regain our footing, get back into the groove of everything, and then once we got our groove, just didn't want to stop.
Sorry.
You.
I just popped my knuckles hella bad.
But we just didn't want to stop, getting better and better. So I mean, we kind of saw improvement as we went.
Oh, that's horrible.
And so yeah, but yeah, honestly, gaming in general is so fun lately. I've been taking a break from Rocket League a little bit. Still on the grind, but I've been focusing on Fortnite a little bit more just because I will be streaming really soon, and I think I will enjoy streaming Fortnite a lot more than Rocket League, just because Rocket League is the more serious side, and I don't want people to just kind of. I mean, I'll show some of the competitive side. Obviously, I can't show all of it because if we do scrims or anything like that, you generally don't want to show, what your strategies are and everything like that. But, I'll show playing competitive gameplay of Rocket League at a pretty decently high tier level, and then I want to do the same at Fortnite. But what I like about Fortnite versus Rocket League is that I mean, obviously you can solo in both, but I think in Fortnite it's a lot easier to get away with just being solo. Like, you can really do a lot by yourself in terms of when you fight. Obviously there's some people out there that are coordinated, but for the most part you can pretty much solo entire teams.
Hey, I saw what you did on the stream. That was crazy.
Yeah.
8 kills.
And that was 9 hours into the stream. So yeah, I was pretty tired, but I don't know how I pulled that one off.
I don't know how you're standing right or sitting awake right now. You haven't gone to sleep. You've been up since 9 in the morning yesterday. Currently, it is what? It is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You are way over 24 hours of being awake. That's nuts.
It is definitely rough, but I don't know, man. Just gaming kind of just gives you that kind of drive, and every once in a while, I think every gamer experiences that. You're just having so much fun that the time just kind of flies, and you just don't realize, where the time went. But you're just having so much fun with the people that you're with, or you're just having so much fun with the game that you're playing that you just kind of lose track of all of that, and everything kind of just disappears.
No, yeah.
Like for us last night, I was expecting to join Chroma in a stream for maybe just a few hours. I wasn't expecting to stay for,
12.
8 or, 9 hours. Because I ended up joining him a little bit later in the stream.
Okay.
But, yeah, I mean, I was not expecting to play all night. That was not the plan. That was not the goal. But, we started getting into it, and we just started having a lot of fun. So, I mean, you can see it in the stream. It was a blast. And honestly, everyone that came to the stream, I appreciate all of you guys, and it was just super fun, honestly, overall. So yeah, I mean, that's something that I'm looking forward to getting back into with my stream personally, is getting back into interacting with everyone on Twitch, and just being able to kind of experience this live audience, quote unquote, um, and just interacting with people because it's so
Different.
different, but it's so fun and entertaining to try and entertain people. Just do something crazy. Like that's all I'm about is just doing something stupid and crazy. And if it works out, it works out. And if it doesn't, it's probably just gonna be the best, funniest clip you'll ever see. So regardless of what it is, I try to do stupid stuff, and if it works out, it works out. And if it doesn't, then it's a funny clip. So,
Yeah. I
it's
think
great.
I think for me, when I start streaming on Twitch a little bit more, um, I think I want to just stream Fortnite for what you said exactly. I don't have many friends that play Fortnite besides yourself. And usually when you're on, you're playing something else, and I'm not, like, I don't have that capability to play with you on those other games. So I usually go at it solo
Yeah,
if it's
hopefully
not my brother.
hopefully Rocket League comes out with the cross-platform soon, so that we can have more games to play. Because from what I'm seeing, we're closing the gap on cross-platform play. It's pretty apparent that console players can keep up with PC players. We're seeing that in Fortnite. Obviously, you got some pretty high tier players playing against some console players, and you wouldn't expect them to be able to perform against PC players. Yet here they are taking out half the lobby, in tournaments. That's where everyone's playing at the top of their game. So for that being said, it's not. We're seeing that it's the gap between PC players and console players is not that far anymore.
Mm-mm.
And especially for Rocket League, most people play it with controller. I play it with controller. I don't play keyboard and mouse. And like for that, like there should be no reason why it's not cross-platform. It's a
Exa-
very fair and even playing field. So I mean that game I can definitely see like getting its cross-platform. They just I think Psyonix is working on it. So they said the start of next year, if not maybe like early next year, they're looking to release the cross-platform play between everyone, so you can actually party up with your console friends and everything like that. And so
That's
hopefully we start seeing more of games transitioning into this, where they start expanding to PC and console and just closing that gap, saying, you know what, PC console players can hang and they can hang with the PC players, regardless of whatever kind of disadvantage they seem to have, they can overcome. So I think that's probably more beneficial, and also for the developers to start thinking of ways to create and close that gap, between the two. So I think it'll be a good. I think 2019 might bring a good year for gaming in general.
oh yeah. No, it definitely will. With that being said, there is quite a bit I want to get into today. Um, there is that whole callback to the last episode when I called out T Series and PewDiePie, the whole beef between them two. Um, I think it came to a culmination this week. In reality, like regardless of where the subscriber count stands as of today, I haven't checked in a while, but I really like the way Felix came to like address some of the more hateful comments that came from that whole thing. Because at this point, if you don't understand that he sees it more of a like a meme at this point, I don't know what you're thinking. Like there's a lot of people throwing hate towards the people of India, which is not cool. Like obviously PewDiePie made some jokes, but when doesn't he make jokes about people? Like that's his style. That's what he does. And if you don't understand that he's doing it sarcastically, then you're really out of touch. Like there's no other way to say it. Um, but I thought that what he did, the charity live stream for Cry, the organization, um, it was incredible. He raised over $250,000 in like under 5 hours, I believe total it was. And all he was really doing was just interacting with the public, talking about the charity for the most part, and playing Oblivion of all games. Like it was fun to watch. He brought the issues to the front, and he made a good impact out of something that was turning negative. Like I know how I called T Series an evil corporation, but in all seriousness, it's just a corporation. Whatever. It's a what is it? It's like a music producer, music production, and like But it's a corporation from India that does um, a lot of media production. There we go. That's what I was trying to look for. That, but like you're thinking it's a giant corporation versus one person and stuff like that, and it's become a meme at this point. He doesn't care if he loses the number one subscribed channel status, because no matter what, he is still the biggest content creator on the platform. Um, and it's great to see somebody that has that many subscribers. It's like 74 million, somewhere around there now. Maybe even 75 at this point. 74 million subscribers, and he's doing charity live streams. Like, how humble do you have to be to do stuff like that? Like, he thinks of things more than himself. Another person that did a charity live stream, it was last Saturday when the last episode came out. Markiplier did the Stand Up to Cancer live stream, where he did some Christmas themed stuff for the live stream, and it was cool. I tuned in. I think at that point, I donated my last like $3 because that's all I had in my account until we got paid a couple of days ago. But it definitely is cool to see like content creators of this stature, like these giant content creators on this platform, do something for the betterment of society. Like we said in the last episode, that's something that me and Tensei here we strive to be that one day, to be able to do that kind of thing. And in all honesty, I feel like every week I gain more motivation to do better things every single time. I want to make a better episode next week, and then make it even better than week after that. And it's just like this motivating factor that just keeps feeding into itself until one day I'll be able to give back, you know? But first we gotta like, grind it out,
Yeah.
put in the work, gain those subscribers by showing people what we have to offer to this platform. I don't want to be just another Let's Player. I don't want to be just another YouTuber. I don't want to be just another content creator. I want people to see me for who I am. And I want to be the best version of me and keep growing with this channel, with this community that we build, you know? In all honesty, this is more like a social experiment, if anything else. Like, I want to grow as a person. Help me be better every day. That's what I want out of this. So, like, seeing people that are that big on the platform, it's humbling. It really is. Because you think about it, one day they were just like us. And they were like, you know what? Let's start this up. And then now look at them. And now look at all the good that they've done. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight some of the good things on this platform, the good things that can come from this platform, which I think is sometimes obscured by controversies or people's, I guess,
Like negativity.
yeah, negative views really of the platform. And it all gets shrouded, and people don't pay attention to all the good that can really come out of the communities built on this platform. And I feel like they should be highlighted more. I don't think they get highlighted enough. Even if they are like even if they are mentioned, or even if the things that they do are mentioned, I don't think it's enough to say thank you to them. Like, and I know they don't do it to get thank yous. I know they don't do it to get views or to get the recognition. But I mean, these people are making differences in other people's lives, and I think it's important that we realize that good can come out of communities like this. Um, Another thing, I finally ordered my laptop. I'm going to have something maybe by the mid December. My laptop should be coming in, which means that I will be personally starting to edit as soon as that happens. I will finally stop bugging Tensei for the edits. I am so sorry.
No.
I feel like an asshole every time that I ask you. It's like, hey, dude, is this ready? Is this ready? And I just feel like, oh my god, I'm sorry. I don't want to ask, but I kind of like we got to.
No, you're
And it's
fine,
like,
honestly. I mean, like I said, always going back and listening to these podcasts, it's always like really funny to just kind of hear the unedited version, to be honest,
Yeah.
because I will be honest with you guys, there are some things that you guys do not hear, but it's because some of the tangents we go on is just
It goes
not
way off.
it's not appropriate for here, so I have to cut it out. But it's really funny
Yeah.
to hear it two times. I'm not gonna lie with you.
Who
So I
knows?
mean, it's really fun. But yeah, it's gonna be it'll be a little bit of weight off my shoulders so that I can start focusing more on my content and things that I want to produce for my channel. Because there's a lot of things that I want to do for my channel, but it takes a lot more time
And attention.
and attention. Yeah, because editing these podcasts, it's not necessarily too difficult to edit the podcast. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. It's just more entertaining for me to just listen back and see, what we talked about in the last hour to, what tangents we ran on and stuff and so on and so forth. So I mean, it's always good to like get a break from the work that I want to do, but at the same time, the work that I want to do kind of requires a little bit more time for me to work on and edit on. So it'll give me a little bit more leeway to kind of play around more with my videos now. But for now, like I said, I still don't mind doing it at all. Like it's definitely been a blast editing all these podcasts and everything like that. So yeah, for sure, definitely like it's not a big deal, honestly.
It. I disagree. It is a big deal.
No.
You've been doing everything for me, and I feel bad for that, and I'm sorry. But
It's
thank
all
you.
good.
I appreciate you. Appreciate the hell out of you. But it's time that I start putting in the work too. You know.
For sure. It'll be
um.
fun to see like your editing style versus my editing style and seeing where we can bounce ideas off of each other. I think it'll be really interesting to see where this podcast kind of turns and see, how different it starts to become, or if we do end up having similar editing styles, we'll see what happens at next. But I
I.
think it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Um. That being said, there's another thing that I wanted to talk about where I don't know, well, obviously more people know about this person than us at this point, but Linus Tech Tips and his review for the what is it, the Walmart pre-built gaming desktop, and how there's no longer a Walmart gaming desktop that was made by what, Esports Arena, I think.
Mm.
um the overpowered, as they called it, and apparently it was not all up to par what it was supposed to be. Like, the specs on paper sounded amazing for the price. It was an affordable thing that everybody could get, and like, even he's agreed. He was like, it's not that bad, but there's like some issues that just kill it completely.
I agree with that, and I do think this is like behind the whole. You kind of get what you pay for, right? Like, you obviously Walmart will come out with a gaming PC. It'll be a little bit cheaper than the normal gaming PC, but then you see in the quality of how they wire it and everything like that, that you kind of get what you pay for in that sense, right? If you were to buy a computer from iBuyPower or um,
HP.
HP or anything like that, right? I'm not gonna say Walmart's not a professional company, but I'm gonna say like they're not as motivated or dedicated to the PC building as iBuyPower or HP, right? So you can see the quality in work that it takes to build a PC. There is definitely a finesse to building computers, but a lot of that is just knowing your background. And iBuyPower, I would definitely say, is like one of those companies that just knows what they're doing. They strictly just build PCs, and that's their kind of brand. And like you can see it in the work. You can see it when you buy these pre-built PCs
The
that there's a
craftsmanship.
lot of craftsmanship that goes into it. There's a lot of work that goes into it. You can open up the front and the back of the cases, and you can see just this beautiful wiring that's been done, by professionals. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely a lot hard. A lot hard. It's definitely harder to like. Yeah, there's my tiredness coming. It's
It's
definitely
okay.
harder to like manage wiring yourself, right? Like I've done it myself on my PC, and it's definitely been like a struggle to maintain everything and keep it looking clean overall, right? But for these guys, they've been doing it for so long that they just know and understand how a PC case is built and where they can put the cables and wirings to hide everything, to make it look presentable and everything like that. So I mean, And then I think from what he said on from Linus, what he said on the videos about these Walmart PCs was that, you know, some of the wiring wasn't done right, or some of the wiring wasn't even connected at all. So you'd have to
Yeah,
go
the
back.
graphics card.
Yeah, so you'd have to go back into the computer and reconnect everything, and that's kind of where I would say that's where you get the quality aspect of it. It could be, and like I will admit, like Linus is right. The specs on the computers are great. You're getting a 1080 Ti with a, you know, 8700K. Yeah, that's great. But if it's not put together properly, how are you gonna get the best of that quality? You know, so if you are going to buy a Walmart PC, I would definitely look into opening it up and making sure everything is plugged in properly. You know, making sure that all the wires are done properly. And I mean, it's a I think it's an iBuyPower or something like that case. I can't remember exactly, or CyberPower or something.
It's its own thing.
It's its own thing. So, I mean, even then, like they should still have their own manual to tell you where the wiring should go. So I would definitely go through that and just make sure everything is connected properly.
Okay, there's one note I want to say so that you guys get a better understanding of what we're talking about. We will put the link to that video in the description
Mm-hmm.
so that way you guys can go and see it for yourself because there's so much that he covers in a pretty good amount of time. It's like 20-minute video,
Mm-hmm.
but he gives it an honest review. I felt that it was good. It wasn't like attacking them necessarily.
It's a respectable review.
Yeah.
It's definitely respectable for what he put out.
But going back to your comment about there's a finesse to building a PC, I also want to acknowledge the Verge build, which was horrible. Like I've
Oh,
never
no.
built a PC in my life, but that was just painful to watch.
I
Like
think we'll also leave a link to that one in the description.
Yeah.
It's very, if you are a PC builder yourself and you watch that, you will have a blast watching this video because
Oh
it is
my
just
God.
too funny.
Okay, there's a YouTuber on the platform. His name is Christopher Yee. He does a lot of builds, depending on like price ranges and stuff. And he reviews that video, and his reactions
I think we'll leave a
are
video
amazing.
link to that video because it's a lot more funnier when he has that
Yeah.
reaction because he's a PC builder himself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a PC builder yourself, I would definitely recommend that. It's like the funniest thing you'll ever watch. Like
Yeah.
it's so backwards ass. And like when you watch it, you're like, yeah, he describes some things and like that's cool. And then suddenly it's just built. Like
Yeah.
I was like, there's so much more to building a PC than just doing that. But sure.
But there's also the moments where he doesn't put things in and then it cuts later and they're already installed. He doesn't address the fact that he installed the fans on the radiator.
Yeah.
That was okay. That one was bad. And then when he messes up by calling the applicator tool to the processor,
And the fact that he had an Allen wrench.
and then Allen wrench. Who uses an Allen wrench?
I've
I've never built a PC, and I know that you don't use an Allen wrench.
Yeah, I've never used an Allen wrench. I mean, like, unless you really want to be extra about it, like, I don't know, like, you don't really need an Allen wrench to build a PC.
Yeah, so there will be links to those videos, those respective videos in the description below, because trust me, watching both of their content, I love them. Shout out to Christopher Yee and Linus Tech Tips. I love watching your guys' content. You guys make me laugh. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is this contest that I entered to see if I could win an Origin PC, the one that's partnered with PewDiePie. He got like this insanely amazing PC, and they're partnering with PewDiePie, and they're giving away a PC built just like his setup. And man, the things that I could do with that thing. Holy hell. You saw the specs. What did you think of that PC?
It was honestly really good. And the way they put it together was really well done. Like, you can definitely tell that they took the time to, you know, manage everything and make sure that everything was connected properly with giving enough slack to the wires so that they're not tugging on the pins or anything like that. So I mean, like, those are like little details that you wouldn't really look at, you know, building your first PC. But once you start getting into building computers and you start getting into the details and everything, you know, you start to really notice like the small things. You know, it's just like a car guy, for example, right? Like a car guy, he can tell you every detail about that car from stock, and then he can tell you every detail that he's done to his car, and then he can tell you every single little flaw, even if it's the smallest dent or whatever. He will point it out and say, like, you wouldn't notice this when you first look at it, but this is something that's been on my car for a while, you know, and a lot of people would be like, oh, well, I wouldn't even notice that if you didn't point that out. The same thing goes for PC builders, you know, you wouldn't really notice these small little details unless they pointed it out.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, being kind of a veteran PC builder, I've helped build like maybe 3 or 4 computers, including my own. You know, I've kind of come to know and learn a lot about, you know, cable management, being able to give enough slack to the power supply and the pin connectors to make sure that it's all like squared away and everything like that, and as well as, you know, maybe making sure that everything's positioned properly within the computer so that, you know, you do get the maximum output of your computer the minute you turn it on, you know. So that's, I think that's like a very interesting concept to think about when, you know, from a PC builder's perspective and a non PC builder's perspective
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Yeah, no, and definitely that's one thing that I hope that I win. Shout out to Origin PC. I'll probably put a link to that whole sweeps if you guys want to check it out. If you guys want to enter into it, I might like we might put that link in there. Um, I keep saying all this stuff like I'm gonna do it, but Kevin's the one or Tensei. Cut that out.
That's okay.
Tensaye is gonna be the one that's editing, so he's gonna be the one putting in these links. I'm sorry, I'm just putting more work.
You're good.
But you know, um, yeah, I hope I win that. Shout
Yeah,
out to
that'll
you
be
guys.
really cool. Then we
Uh,
can finally PC game together.
yeah. How about that Red Dead Redemption online beta? What do you think?
I think is in a very cool concept. I've seen a little bit of like clips here and there, and I think there was one funny clip where it was like, "This is Red Dead Redemption Online Beta," and it was like literally like this dead guy being pulled on a horse, and then
Okay.
like he gets pulled around a corner of an area, and then another dude comes out and snipes the dude that was watching. I don't know. It was like really random, but it was really funny, and I was just like, "That's just classic like."
Online.
Rockstar things, you
Yeah.
know, like super classic, like super random things that happen on their online games. Like it's ridiculously funny.
Oh, I love it.
And I was just like, I wouldn't expect anything less of this online beta, you know, like it's just really funny. So I think it like, but I do think like it's very beautiful to kind of see these kind of open world online games start to emerge and start to become more of
Like
a
an
more,
MMO.
yeah, and to become more common nowadays. You know, you can posse up with your friends or you can gang up with your friends in these games, and you can do your own missions, you can do side missions, or you can just go and grief people all day if
Yeah.
that's what your forte is, you know. But I mean, regardless, that whole like open world kind of sandbox, if you will, game, kind of allowing you the freedom to do whatever the heck you want. You know, it's kind of fun and cool, and kind of I think allows a lot of people to kind of unwind and de-stress from, you know, our normal everyday kind of lives. So,
Exactly. But honestly, for me, the takeaway from the beta is this is exactly what a beta should be. The communication between the developers and the consumers is like unheard of. Like the way they've been doing it. They actually, oh, sushi now. This time, last time it was McDonald's, this time it's sushi. The way they actually listen to their consumers is a masterclass.
mhm.
It's what am I trying to say?
It's very unheard of
Yeah.
from developer standpoint, and I think the only other game to really match this is Fortnite. Fortnite, I mean, as of recent, they kind of just started adding stuff to the game, but let's talk about like the earlier stages, season 3 through maybe 5, I want to say. That was a really good time for Epic Games because they were listening to their community. Everything that the community was complaining about, they addressed. Everything that the community was saying was like, you know, they would post it on Reddit, they'd post it on forums, they'd post it on YouTube, and then, you know, the developers would say, hey, we heard you, we're gonna fix this, we're gonna work on it. And I think that was like the first time we ever saw developers communicating with, you
The
know, the
consumers.
consumers, and that was a very interesting concept. And I think Rockstar is trying to do the same thing, where they, you know, they're gonna throw out this game, and they want to see how people react to it initially, and then whatever feedback they get, they want to address everything. And I think this is a good way for developers and consumers to start kind of bridging that whole knowledge base on their game. We are the ones that played their game, and we are the ones that experience the weird bugs. We're the ones that experience all these weird glitches, all the hacks.
Can I just say, I enjoy the glitches and the bugs. Yeah. It makes the game so much better.
Right. It's kind of puts you back
fun.
in that aspect of, this is still a game. Right?
Yeah.
Even though how hyper realistic these games are becoming, you still get that arm flailing out of nowhere, and you're like, yep, this is still a game.
Oh my
those
God.
are always so funny to run into. You run into a tree and your arm just gets caught in the tree, and now your arm is just stretching for miles and miles. I think we've all seen a glitch like that every now and then, and it kind of makes you realize it's still a game.
I think my favorite glitch of all time still has to be the walking on the field cameraman from FIFA 2000. I want to say it's I can't remember if it was 14. It was somewhere between 2012 to 2015. It was one of those. And the cameramen that were on the sidelines would randomly go out onto the field, and it was the greatest thing ever. It was like trying to get the perfect action shot. But going back to the whole Rockstar trying to make or recreate what the Fortnite developers did, I feel like they did it better.
Mm-hmm.
And the reasoning for it is because they admitted, hey, this is what we're doing. This is a beta. It's still in beta. I know that we have a finished game, but there will be bugs. We just want to put it out, have you guys play it, and we will listen to everything that you guys have to address. Well, and then they did it. Just now I saw a post where they were they reduced the prices on certain weapons, and now they're reimbursing the difference to players who had purchased them previously. They're increasing the amount of money that you get from missions, whether it be side missions, replays of the what's it called? The elevator music time. Okay, here we are. So they increase the cash and gold payments on a number of different activities, like the free roam missions, the free roam events, replays of a Land of Opportunities missions, the Showdown series modes, and more on that. And they also, like I said, reduced the prices of most of the weapons in the Wheeler, Rawson and Co. catalog and gunsmiths. And the people that had already purchased the weapons, they get that difference reimbursed. Obviously, I'm quoting this right off of the Rockstar Games Instagram page. So, I don't want to seem like I'm plagiarizing. I'm basically saying this word for word.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just changing a few words like I would if I was writing a college paper. But
who has?
But yeah,
honestly.
Exactly. But I love that because they're listening to the consumers, and they're also putting it forward where it needs to. They reduce the price, so now they're reimbursing the people the difference. So it's this balance. You're not just oh, you spent all this money and now it's cheaper, but you're never gonna get that money back. And it's wait, what? What happened to us then? They didn't neglect those people that had already purchased it. They addressed the issue, they fixed it, and they helped the people who already went through it.
Mm-hmm. What I do have to say on this is that yes, they are doing the right moves right now. I will give them benefit of the doubt. Let's hope that they do continue to listen to the consumer base. But I do want to bring up that, with an online beta, with an online game, developers always want to get creative with what they add as DLC to the game, right? I think that goes for any multiplayer game that is online, that is multiplayer and everything like that. So we will see in the future how creative content and consumer ideas will clash or collide and see where that goes, because you sometimes, what seems like a good idea for the what seems like a good idea for the developers, you know, the consumer will see the opposite. Oh, this is the most overpowered thing. Like, this is so stupid. And now you get back to the developers, and now they have to make adjustments to that. And then this whole thing, and we've seen this with multiple games before. Like, I think Fortnite is the most, right? As of recent, we've seen Fortnite kind of in the recent seasons start like adding things to the game that seemed really busted, but then they come out with another patch. Like season 7 came out, and the game is just obviously fun. Like, I played it for fucking 8 hours, like,
Yeah.
and it's great. But the thing that made it great was that they took out all the things that made it not fun, right? They took out a lot of the things, like the double barrel was removed and stuff like that, right? They made the adjustments that the consumers like me were complaining about. The double barrel is stupid. Like, you just have to be able to break into a wall and just barrel stuff people, and stuff like that was removed from the game. And it does go to show that Fortnite is still listening to the community. They are still putting it forward, and they're still coming out with really great content. And let's just hope that for future developers to kind of what they should take away from this is just that, continue to just listen to your consumer base, because this is who you are appealing to. This is who you are. This is who you're catering to. And so, if we have something to say, if we have a voice to say, and let's say, one voice, it's not going to be just kind of like a one voice says all kind of thing. It's going to be a one voice plus maybe 100,000 likes, something like that on Reddit. You'll see it. And, just, make sure that as a developer, just to kind of acknowledge your consumer base, and just make sure that everything is in place, and make sure that when something is broken or when something is overpowered, that you make the adjustments accordingly and make it fast. Like, as a consumer, it especially as a consumer, it doesn't take long for us to kind of get tired of a game if something's broken and just branch off from it. You know what I mean? There's so many games out there that it is so easy to just say, like, well, this game's broken to me, so I just don't want to play it anymore, or vice versa. I love this game so much. You're gonna always have your diehard fans, and you're always gonna have people that hate your game. But what you should cater to is just a consumer base overall. Regardless of the hate, regardless of the positive, positive comments that you do receive. Like, take both with a grain of salt, and just kind of say, like, yeah, we're headed in the right path, or maybe we do need to make some minor adjustments to this, or, yeah, maybe the thing that we thought was great is not going to work out online. Stuff like that, And that's, I think, as a gamer myself, that's what I would like to hear from the developers, And playing Rocket League and Fortnite, in Rocket League, the developers will hear you. Like, sometimes I play ranked games, and I run into developers, that are playing the game. And I'll say, like, and they'll ask sometimes at the very end of the game, like, hey, is there anything that we could fix? And that's very good for them to not just play the game, but, come to their community directly and say, hey, is there anything that you guys see unfair or unbalanced that we can fix, in game? That's something that's very unheard of. How often do you see developers playing their own game and asking for feedback within the game? Usually they're looking on forums, they're looking on Reddit posts, they're looking on YouTube, and they're just seeing all these, these hate posts that usually come out. And, oh gosh, lost train of thought. But, like, they'll see all the hate, and they kind of say, like, oh, well, we need to fix this right away, even though maybe it's just one person saying it, and I think, we're starting to kind of get an understanding of where developers and gamers are starting to kind of coincide with, what needs to be fixed and how are they going to fix it, kind of deal. And I think that's where my whole tangent was going. I hope.
No, that's good.
My train of thought is kind of not here right now. Sorry.
No, it's okay. You've been up for over a day now, so you're forgiven. Like, yeah. So now another thing happened yesterday that's pretty important in this day and age: the Game Awards.
Surprisingly, Red Dead Redemption was not one of the games to receive an award. I was surprised about that, considering it was one of the better games that I kind of expected to get some sort of award.
True.
Regardless of what kind of award it was. I
Mm-hmm.
think I was expecting Red Dead to get some sort of award. I mean, it did have its kind of backlash on release, but with its expectation, I kind of like
Very minimal though.
saw that it had the potential to receive one. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially like what was it, the game of the year, which was God of War, very well deserved, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I
But
haven't really seen much of the gameplay or anything, but from what I heard, because I've talked to a lot of people about it, they said it was an amazing game. The whole story, like front to back, was, phenomenal. The experience, was there, and it was almost like, I guess, your relation to Last of Us, right? It was very emotionally attaching. You really get connected with the characters and stuff like that, and I think that's really cool for them to have done.
see, and that's the thing is like, not much really separates the game of the year, God of War, from Red Dead Redemption in that aspect because I feel like Red Dead Redemption did really well. What Red Dead Redemption did really well was character development.
Hmm.
You could go two different paths with your main character. And Arthur Morgan could either go the outlaw direction or basically like the good Samaritan.
The in-law. No, I was gonna-
The in-law.
the outlaw or the in-law.
But it's definitely one of those things where you get to choose the kind of person that you want to be.
Hmm.
Obviously, like you do in everyday life, and I feel like everything in the story that's happened so far from what I've watched, the gameplay is Markiplier playing it. I don't have the game yet, so I'm just watching other people play it. Um, I feel like it's building this relationship between you and the character you're playing, and it's a good thing to have that because otherwise, it's all meaningless. Games with story for me have always been an important thing because I love story-driven games. I love diving into the mythos of each game. I love immersing myself in the experience and feeling like I'm part of the adventures. When I play games like Uncharted, I feel like I'm treasure hunting. I feel like I'm exploring these lost worlds. When I play games like God of War, I feel like I'm taking on these titans and everything. I feel like I'm taking on all the Nordic legends like Thor and Odin and all that. It's pretty cool to see all that kind of stuff. When I play, it's just immersing myself in it. And story-driven games for me immerse me more because it feels like you're part of something bigger. Multiplayer games where you get to play against other people is fun and all, but for what it does for immersion, it's not comparative at all. And like I don't know, God of War definitely hit it out of the park. And I feel like because it came out earlier in the year versus later in the year, like Red Dead, it got more attention towards its story. I feel like if Red Dead would have come out earlier, I think it could have been a better runner up at the very least. But my top three in order, like to me, would be God of War in first place, which they earned it. Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man, because obviously I have really strong ties to the character and I love the story and the character development in it. And then Red Dead Redemption. Like there's no way Red Dead Redemption doesn't top Assassin's Creed for me, you know, or those other games they got nominated for Game of the Year. But that being said, I feel like God of War deserved that award perfectly.
I'm not sure if this was one of the games nominated for that, but I feel like I watched a little bit of gameplay and I feel like it had a good storyline. But Detroit Becoming Human, I'm not sure if it was a nominated game, but I definitely feel like it should be an honorable mention.
It should be. It was definitely a really strong message.
Yeah, I had this like I don't know when I heard the story, like what the story of the game was. It was this robot that kind of, and I think the population was split like maybe 50-50 ish in terms of android versus human, right? Like, and these androids are kind of more human like, and the AIs of these androids are starting to become smarter and smarter and start to gain emotion but don't know how to feel. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was like a very interesting concept, and I feel like, watching the gameplay that I did watch, I thought it was very interesting to see, that perspective of, a kind of good side to iRobot, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like every robot just wants to take over the world type thing, but maybe just every robot wants to feel type thing, and that's kind of a interesting concept that I don't think a lot of people really bring up, but is kind of brought up through this game, and I think is like the brighter side of robotics as a whole and stuff like that. So I
Uh,
think that's cool.
and I also think it's very much social commentary in this day and age.
Yeah,
Definitely not like subtle about it.
yeah.
And I feel like they did it pretty well. Like
Hmm.
you can choose the direction you want to go
Right. It's
in
a
that
very
game.
like action, like I think what is it called? Very like it's kind of like The Walking Dead. In the terms of like you make a choice and then it's remembered
Oh,
within the game, and then the game kind of
okay. So
changes
like
based on.
storyline based
Yeah, so
games.
like it changes based on your decision making kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very cool aspect to these games where, especially like this kind of game where it's bringing that whole android human being together kind of life to life, where a lot of the perception of that is Terminator mass destruction kind
Yeah.
of things, and it's like this kind of
Which
brings.
you can choose that path.
Yeah, right. And I mean, it is an option, but then there's like this whole like I guess it's a romance side. I have no idea. I've never really played the game, but I do want to play the game eventually. But yeah, I think it's just like a cool concept that
Yeah.
they brought forward that I don't think a lot of people thought about.
Honestly, I love that game. I got to play it once. I don't have it myself, but I did get to play it a little bit, and I love the mechanics of the game. Obviously, with every game, there's going to be a little bit of derpiness in the controls
Right.
sometimes, but it didn't take away from the fact that I loved every bit of it. Um, but yeah, no, definitely an honorable mention in my book as well. But I still think the top three for me hold over that one.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's
Um,
fair.
yeah, another game that was announced that I got to see a trailer for that I'm really excited for personally. Mortal Kombat 11. Oh my god, I'm definitely pre-ordering to get Shao Kahn. I don't care how much money I gotta put down. I don't care if I have to buy it basically before I get
You
it.
about to pull out a loan for this one?
No, I definitely love the Mortal Kombat series. You know me. Um, I grew up playing on the Nintendo 64 in my cousin's house, Mortal Kombat, and just being frustrated because I couldn't beat them just because they were that good. Or who knows, maybe I just sucked that bad back then. Then again, I was pretty young, so you gotta cut me some slack.
Hmm.
But definitely a throwback to my childhood. I loved Mortal Kombat 10. I still have it. I still play it a lot. I love fighting games like that, like the Street Fighters, the Tekkens, Smash Bros, stuff like that. I love that kind of game because you you get to go up against people next to you. You get to go up against people across the world from you. You get to face people and face them in a pretty one-on-one session, basically. Not so much with Smash Bros because that's like multi and there's
Hmm.
more. But like with Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, I'm sure there's other fighter games that I'm like not thinking of right now. But all those kinds of games.
Like a one-on-one, based on knowledge type gamers. I
And
mean, that
it's
goes for a lot of games too.
yeah.
It's really cool. But yeah, definitely like fighter games as a whole, like really bring out the whole, your knowledge versus their knowledge based gameplay. How well do you know how to control a character versus how well they know how to control a character, and how well you can read into an opponent. And I can relate this directly to Rocket League. It's not necessarily a one-on-one; it's a 3v3, but in a sense, one person goes for the ball and you have to be ready for what's about to happen next. And it's kind of like this back and forth kind of, if you will, heavyweight boxing match that, eventually ends up in a knockout punch, which is a goal. So, I mean, in that sense, you can kind of, and I think the same goes for Fortnite as well. You get into a build battle, mm, there's certain things that you will start to learn about build battling that you wouldn't realize before. And then once you start to realize these things, you can start better preparing yourself for what to expect when you get into these build battles. Because I think the evolution of build battling before versus now is way different, right? People are using different techniques to obtain high ground, and even playing low ground now is a viable way of playing the game now, where you can knock down the opponent and then try and build up on them to get the high ground. So I mean, there's constant different ways to, and that's why I like Fortnite too, is because it constantly makes you think on the fly. What's my move? What's the next move? How fast can I move based on my opponent's movement, and can I make the right move in time for my opponent before he catches me? Stuff like that. So I mean, I think that's like what the why I like Fortnite so much. It's not necessarily like, oh, it's such a big game, oh, it's so fun. I mean, it
All
is
the
a fun
hype.
game, but yeah, all the hype behind it I think is a little bit much for me to understand. But I just like the whole aspect of running into another player, getting into a build battle, and then just trying to outthink my opponent at the same time. Like that is, I think, the coolest thing and aspect to these games that I like to play.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, I agree with you on that. Um, but yeah, going back to the whole fighting games and stuff. I know we
Went on
keep
a
going on
whole tangent.
tangents.
Holy crap!
Yeah, no, I saw the gameplay trailer for Mortal Kombat 11. I am really excited. I love that game. I want to play it. I'm really counting like the days now. But yeah, I definitely agree with you on the whole Fortnite thing. It's
Mm.
definitely a thing that keeps you mentally on your toes, you know?
Right, and I think that goes for pretty much any game, especially fighting games too, right? Like,
Hmm.
how well do you know
The
the
technicalities.
technicalities of one character versus another character and how well they match up?
Hmm.
I think that is equivalent to getting into a build battle and knowing what your opponent is capable of doing and what you're capable of doing with that sense, right?
Hmm.
It's a battle of the minds, I guess, if you could say, and that goes for pretty much every competitive game. I will say, like, yes, esports. Going back to you, esports is not necessarily a physically straining sport, but is definitely a
Mentally.
mentally draining sport.
Yeah, it
You
is.
have to be at the top of your game, top of the mind, think on the fly, be able to make a move as soon as you make a decision, and just live with the regret or the possible failures after, and not knowing what the future entails, but just making a choice on the fly and saying, like, okay, I'm going to do this. And if it succeeds, then it succeeds. And if it doesn't, then I know what not to do,
Yeah.
and just learning from those mistakes.
And not saying that, traditional sports aren't mentally draining either,
Hmm.
because most games, most sports really are mind games, you know?
Right.
You have to outthink your opponent. But definitely agree with you on that. And
Hmm.
it's easy to see why Fortnite won Game of the Year.
Hmm.
And also, or yeah, online Game of the Year and multiplayer Game of the Year. Like, it's easy to see why it dominated.
Yeah.
It's such a big thing. We haven't seen a game like this dominate in forever, since the start of Call of Duty, I believe.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I feel like they just built upon like this idea that um, I guess a third person shooter game could be more than just shooting.
Yeah,
You
and I
know?
think it's funny that, Fortnite started as a just builder game.
Yeah.
It was like I want to say it was like an original PvE builder game where you would play with maybe three or four other players, and then you would kind of just build a base and then like fight off the waves of zombies as they come in and try to attack your base. And that's how the game started. You would build, and then you would shoot right after, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this game started to become building is everything, but if you don't know how to maintain your battles, you're gonna lose. And if what you see initially when you get into a build battle scares you, you probably better just turn around and run.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. Like when it comes to me playing Fortnite, you know me, I don't do build battles.
Hmm.
I don't care. I will just build a wall and a ramp, and I will take down anybody that I can. I don't care how much they build. I will try my best to take that other person down without having to build. I don't care. Like it's build battles for me. I'm
And it's
not that great
definitely
at it.
like a good strategy because it's viable.
It
Like
is.
nowadays, the build battle aspect of the game is very diverse in the sense that you don't necessarily have to play for high ground to win all the
Hmm.
time. like I said, nowadays build battling, you can get the low ground and still win fights, you know. And I have a few highlights. I don't know if I can pull it up for the video, but if you want to, I'll put a link in the bio as well for Chroma Stream, and there's a couple highlights. I think he'll put it up of us playing, and you can kind of see the adversity of the game where it is now compared to where it was a few seasons ago, where building was the number one thing, where getting the high ground was the number one thing in that game. And that's what all like people learned was how to maintain high ground, but it wasn't how to counterplay people. It wasn't how to block people off or box them in so that they can't move. It became more in the later seasons when people started realizing, hey, if I put a wall here, he has to still either pickaxe or shoot it out before he can move. And that's my opportunity. That's my window to create this high ground mentality for myself,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really cool how the evolution of Fortnite before, or, where it is now versus where it was then kind of aspect, where now it's definitely more of a mental game. How well can you read your opponents now? And not only that, how well can you track your opponents? These build battles are getting crazier and crazier, and sometimes people just retreat and suddenly you lose track of your opponent, and now you got to go back down and find your opponent. And if you can't find them, who's to say they're not above you at that point? Kind of stuff. And it's crazy. It's cool.
No, and then like for me, my strategy. What the hell am I trying to say? My strategy is find a porta fort, find a porta fortress. I don't care, and I'm gonna throw it somewhere, and I'm gonna distract the person, and I'm gonna get them from behind. I don't give two flying. You know what? Like that's always been my thing, because people always expect, oh, they just put up a porta fort. They're in the porta fort. I'll just like come around you. I'll be like, surprise, surprise, motherfucker. Like I'll get you like that. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to Call of Duty where there's no building. I try and stay true to the kind of player that I am in those kinds of games, in that sense, I guess. But I will say Fortnite did that perfectly. Like they do balance it out perfectly. They did add that twist to it, and people take advantage of it really well. And my respect to anybody that can do that, because I can't do that for shit.
Yeah,
I can't.
Definitely, shouts out to them for getting the award of multiplayer game of the year and online game of the year, because they definitely earned it for all the accomplishments they've done. For God's sakes, they were the first game to bring everything together. To bring all consoles together. That is unheard of in the gaming realm. To be the first to do that with Fortnite is surprising.
Yeah, okay, so we just got a text in the group chat saying that our friends want to do a game night tonight, but I'm just going to say this. I hope that Tensaye here gets some rest. He needs it. I'm sorry, like, I hope that, like, they'll understand.
Yeah.
But, like,
I'll definitely be there for
rest.
the Molly miss, but I don't think I'll be there tonight if they want to hang out.
No, you need some sleep. You need some rest. I am grounding you. I am grounding you, legit. Oh, okay. Somebody else is also like in your shoes right now. They're
I don't know how well she is versus me, but
yeah.
I'm pretty like dead right now. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah.
I mean, doing this podcast was still fun. Like I think I rambled more than anything.
No, that's okay.
But
yeah, definitely a lot of things to come in the next coming up episodes. I feel like we've definitely hit that stride.
We're getting comfortable with being able to just talk about our ideas and give our thoughts out and stuff like that.
And yeah, no, definitely. Hopefully soon I'll be able to contribute more into the editing game. I can't wait to show you guys what I'm about, because honestly, I'm a editing virgin at this point. Like, I haven't edited anything since papers back in college. That's it. That's legitimately the only editing I've ever done, and that has nothing to do with this.
The last thing I edited was a wall in Fortnite, so.
Hey, that was good. That was good. But I'm definitely excited to take this step into another thing, learning a different craft, because that's what I want to do. Like I said, I want to be better than I was yesterday. And what better way to do that than to learn new skill sets?
I honestly think you'll have a lot of fun doing it because, we have a lot of fun just shooting the podcast and being here and recording the podcast. And then when you run it back and you listen to everything, it's like, I think it's 10 times funnier because it's like, did we really say that? Like, did that really come out your mouth? Like,
oh no,
kind of
trust
stuff.
me.
So, I mean, it's really fun overall. I think it's really, like, it's enjoyable for sure. Like, going back to these podcasts and just listening to them over and over again. And then, like, obviously editing and doing some work with them, but also just listening to them and just seeing where our minds are at, it's kind of
yeah, whether we're like tired as hell or just about to slip into a food coma, because that's where we're at right now. But yeah, no, definitely agree with you on that. Better things to come. Again, links to everything that we really talked about in detail will be in the description as much as possible. I don't want to give too much work to Tensaye right now.
It's okay.
Thank you everybody for tuning in to this episode. If you would like to give us a follow on any of our socials, the links to that will be in the description down below. And as always, my name is RJ.
My name is Tensaye.
And we are the Group Project Gamers. Bye.
Bye.